Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Saturday, April 24th, 2010, and you're listening to show number 123 of On Tap. I'm Dale Coulis. I'm joined by Chris and Lyzz Harpster. What's up, guys?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing okay.
Good. Want to go to work for me?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And today we have a very special guest joining us from fellow VG Evo Podcast Network member of
The Hulk.
The Hulk. From the
Mr. Green.
From the 360
With the
Nation.
candlestick in the observatory.
There you go. From the 360 Nation podcast, Justin Gorson, or also known as Random. Welcome, man.
Hey guys, how's it going? Pleasure to be here.
Cool. Thanks for coming on, man. And
No problem.
we brought on Justin here just because we are dedicating today's show since original Xbox Live got shut down just a week ago, or a little over a week ago. We figured it'd be good timing to do a retrospective on the original Xbox. So that's what today's show is going to be on. We figured bring on one of the pros from the 360 Nation. And
I heard Xbox, so yeah.
yeah, but
Special guest, Bill Gates. Hi, Bill. How's it going?
that's right.
How did you feel when you announced this?
Yeah.
But before we get to the Xbox retrospective, figure we'll hit up the On Tap open question thread. We just kind of started this a couple episodes ago in case you didn't hear it. This is pretty much usually within a week before we record. We'll just do open questions thread on our forums on VG Evo. You guys can post whatever you want, any question you got in mind, video games or otherwise, and we'll get to it. We'll try and get to as many as we can on the show, and we have one of them related to Xbox, so the original Xbox, so we'll save that for when we get to the retrospective. But we got 3 other ones, and so I'll just lay them on you guys. Our first question comes from Raynick. I'm sorry if I butcher your name. Here it is. I just have one question in this week. You guys talk about movie games. How about Resident Evil Afterlife? It looks pretty cool. I always like the Resident Evil movies, except for the CGI one. They pulled some stuff directly from Resident Evil 5, which is nice to see. Impressions? Thoughts? Interested?
Well, I know as far as I go, I'm definitely going to be trying to see that in theaters because I've seen every Resident Evil movie in theaters except for the CGI one.
Wow,
And
really?
I have. I love them. Those are like one of my favorite movie franchises. I actually got Chris converted. He kind of enjoys them now, I think.
I saw the first one in the theater, and the problem is I went in with the expectation saying, all right, this was one of the I think it might have been the first or second reason I wanted a PlayStation 1 was because of the Resident Evil, and I thought it was going to be in the mansion, and I thought this was going to be basically a movie about the first game, and it was nothing like it. I still enjoyed it, but that it left a little bad taste in my mouth. That's all.
Well, see, with me, I never played the games until actually about 6 months ago. I tried one of the games,
No kidding.
and I just can't get into the games. But I love the movies, and I want to start reading the books because I guess they kind of follow how Alice got involved with the Raccoon Corporation.
Oh, interesting.
So-
So they tie it together then with the books.
Yeah, so I want to read the books and see, if, and I don't know for sure that she's in there, but I want to know, how she got involved. Chris is bored.
Chris is like,
Prove it.
I still haven't seen any of the Resident Evil movies. I know you guys have been
I have them.
been at me to get
Dale,
watch
then
them.
that
Yeah,
means
just
one-
borrow them to me. I'll get around and watch them.
I'm not borrowing them out. You can come over here and watch
We'll do a
them.
marathon.
Here,
A
and
marathon.
We're gonna watch all of them back to back.
6 hours,
All right, let's.
And then we're going to watch Lord of the Rings back to back.
Including
which is
this-
another 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
I don't know about that.
I
I
do.
think I'm actually most interested in the CGI one, just because I loved Resident Evil 5 and
Then we're going to watch all the Bournes back to back. Then all the police academies. Hey, they are good, okay?
yeah. So are you guys planning on seeing Afterlife right away then in theaters? I know you said you probably will, Liz.
I want to. It's going to depend on the money situation, if I've actually got money when it comes out, or if I have to call my parents and be like, Mommy, Daddy, I love you.
Just catch it, just sneak into the matinee. That's all you gotta do.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
Just pretend you're in high school again.
Just be like, yeah, I'm with that group of students right there. We're on a field trip. Okay,
To see Resident Evil.
Disney movie.
Yes.
I'm gonna step into the Resident Evil movie now.
Let's see. What's the latest Pixar movie? I'm here to see that one.
Yeah, I'm here with that group of kids there going to see that Pixar movie.
By
It's
the way,
little Timmy's birthday.
By the way, where is the Resident Evil movie being held?
Okay, awesome. So I know to keep them away from that room.
All right. Our next question comes
I
from.
can so totally pull it off.
Sure.
Our next question comes from Biff Sticks. He asks, "Do any of you guys have a guilty video game pleasure that you like to play?" So pretty much, what video game are you ashamed to admit you like? Justin, you got any off the top of your head?
Oh yeah. You know what? Oh, I wish I would have thought about this because I think I have a couple. First is the Need for Speed series when it started to kind of take off in the about, I don't know, it's probably close to 8 years ago with the Underground series and Most Wanted. I love those games, and I know they're not the most solid racing games, but I love those games so much.
I remember, yeah, some like those. I remember watching YouTube footage of some of the cutscenes in there, the live action stuff. That looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, they did actually. It's kind of a neat filter on it, but the dialogue is just horrible. It's like it's basically Fast and Furious, the game, more or less. But yeah, I'd have to say that's the first one that pops into my head. I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones, but that's the first one.
If you think of any more here, let me know. For me, I got I just kind of put some guilty pleasures because when I say I like these games, and even though when I read, just from remember reading some reviews on them, they get received generally well, but other people give me crap for liking them a lot. And one of them is Mortal Kombat versus DC. I get a lot of crap for liking that one for some reason.
Oh, that's a fun game. I enjoyed that.
It's a fun fighter. I mean, sure, it's no technically sound Street Fighter, but
Yeah.
it's fun. Get some buddies over. They get their kicks in playing Batman and Sub-Zero, and that's a good one. As far as kind of games that have been very poorly received that I have guilty pleasure, the only one that could really come to mind right away was the backyard wrestling games. Then those are very, very just poorly. The controls are kind of half-assed and just very poor gameplay-wise. But for some reason, whenever I used to have buddies over in the old Xbox days and PS2 days, we'd throw this in, and we'd just have a blast playing it for some reason. I don't know why, but there's a couple right there. Chris, Lyzz, video game guilty pleasures.
Still looking.
Well, I can go, I guess.
Okay.
With me, I'm all about, the first-person shooters, the RPGs, the generally, quote-unquote, manly games. Well,
Barbie.
No, I can't stand Barbie games.
Do they even
because
make
the
a
whole
Barbie game for the
Yes, they
Xbox?
do. Yes, they do. My guilty pleasure is actually on the DS. It's that,
This has to be on the Xbox, isn't it?
no.
No, this is anything.
Anything.
Oh, anything. Okay. I was just looking at the
Mine would
Xbox.
be the Pets games that they came out with for the DS.
Oh wow.
Ooh,
It's
that's bad.
Completely girly games. And yeah.
Let me
no.
guess. You also have the Imagine Babies games and
No,
stuff.
right now I just have the horses one.
Horses.
But I eventually actually want to get the hamsters one, as sad as that sounds. See if I can train them to go up ladders. I know, pathetic. Now you have to pick one. It has to be equally embarrassing.
Guilty pleasure.
No, you cannot say Leisure Suit Larry.
That.
Well, weren't you a big
I
fan of
didn't
the first Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball?
Oh, the volley was okay.
Volleyball was okay. Right.
Yeah, the half-naked chicks, on the other hand.
They were just gravy. God. Why couldn't we prepare for this question beforehand?
It was on the
It
forum.
was on the forum.
Why didn't I read the forum?
Because you never do.
Oh,
I'm working on it.
that
here.
one.
Oh, yeah, didn't
that
you
one,
didn't you
no.
really like Shadow of the Hedgehog, Liz?
I did like Shadow the Hedgehog.
There
But
you
I
go.
don't consider
but
that
that's
a guilty
her
pleasure.
guilty pleasure, Dale. You're not helping
I
me.
don't consider that a guilty pleasure because it's not a girly game.
But it's a generally poorly received game by the game. Here, we'll just go to the last question here. I think this is a good question. This comes from Fluffy Nuts. Yeah.
He has fluffy nuts?
Yes.
That guy's
Yeah, squirrel
awesome, by
nuts.
the way.
Hey, it's Fluffy.
It's fun.
Ooh, soft.
All right, he asks, what animal would you steal from the zoo, and how would you get it out?
Ooh,
Oh,
that's a loaded question.
That is a loaded
I
question.
would steal a lion.
Ooh.
How would you get it out?
I would ride it.
You're taking my ideas. I would take an elephant and train it to like bash down the gates, so I could free all of the elephants.
See, now I'm a fan of a lot of the aquatic animals, but I don't want to jump off yours, but I'd say probably like a tiger or some variation of a cat. And if you could ride it out, that would be the ideal way. But I think the other way to do it would be to just run like hell. Or be like in the movies where you've got like a dune buggy and then the tiger's running alongside of you as you escape the gates and the zookeepers. Could do that.
Well, why do you think I picked the elephant?
Yeah, that makes sense. It does, because you can ride the elephant. They're gentle, but yet they're huge and can knock anything
Exactly.
over. Yeah.
And most of them, they don't have to have any specific training. You can just tap them behind one ear or the other, and they'll turn.
Exactly. I've watched Dumbo. It just takes a little mouse and they go nuts.
Then they fly off.
Exactly. It has
They
big
can't
enough
lay down
ears.
and roll on you, so you're good there.
That's true. That's true.
I would pick a panda, because, you know...
Panda.
Yeah, the
He wants to cuddle with it.
Yeah, you know, the pandas, they're always friendly.
Yeah.
They're the friendly animals, so, you know, they look so cute and cuddly, so...
Say the tourists who get eaten by them.
Yes.
It's a sad panda.
We got that on our homepage. It says roadkill is a sad panda. So I figure if I free the pandas, I figured we'd free the pandas. You wouldn't be a sad panda anymore. So,
I'd be a sad but free panda.
yeah, that's right. You'd be a free panda.
Oh boy.
Okay, Final Fantasy X.
That's your
Guilty
guilty pleasure?
I don't know.
I can agree with that in a way.
Yeah, you're right.
It was an awesome game. It wasn't poorly received. It wasn't.
It was
high.
greatly received.
Oh yeah, it was.
And like,
But they fucked it up.
No,
But I think the hardcore fans were the ones
they
that
got,
pushed
they
back.
got like a 39 out of 40 from Famitsu.
well, I think I remember what
What's
we were
Famitsu?
hearing like a recent
Japanese ranking
poll
magazine.
Oh, okay.
where like they asked like 100 random people wasn't in line for Final Fantasy 13, like rank their top Final Fantasy games, and what was it 7 and 10 came out on top, I think, if I remember right.
Oh. See, I think what's weird is 7 for me I was one of those guys, but I still say it had nothing to do with advertising because I got it at random and I absolutely loved the game and I had no idea that it was so well received publicly until I got older and started talking to people.
Kirby's Adventure for the NES.
That is a damn good game.
That
I
was
know,
a good
it's
game.
Oh, you know what I was gonna say? I forget that you guys. I can talk about all the other systems. The other
Yeah.
guilty pleasure, now that you mentioned it, was on the Game Gear.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Jurassic Park game. It's a side scroller, and I can picture stages, but I remember I could beat the game in one sitting, like because it wasn't that difficult. Because for me to finish a game is, it's got to be easy. And I used to love that game so much, and everyone hates the Jurassic Park games.
Yep. I think we're ready to get on to the Xbox retrospective here. And my first question I want to throw to you guys about it is, what did you first think about when Microsoft first announced it was making a game console? Were you like, what the hell are you thinking? Just stick to PCs? Why are you entering this? Or
Well,
what? Do you guys have any thoughts about that right away?
I mean, I was pretty heavy into PC gaming at the time, and I was a PlayStation guy, and I was just going over to the PC gaming. When I saw Microsoft was doing it, I said, "Wow, well, they're a pretty big force to be reckoned with." And I was actually personally pretty excited because I saw another big studio trying to make a console. So my first reaction was I was excited. I wanted to see what they could do.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty skeptical at first because when I thought Microsoft making games, the only games I really knew them for on the PC side of things were Age of Empires, which I loved, but I knew wouldn't be able to translate well onto a console, and the flight simulator stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, what are you going to bring to the table? I just kind of do a wait-and-see approach and see what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Chris, Liz, anything?
Well, I thought that, okay, they're just going to make a PC that you hook up to your TV. You know, it'll run Windows and everything.
It almost was.
Yeah.
With me, I actually didn't hear about the Xbox until many years after it came out. And, I'd hear about this phenomena, Halo. And it was like, you'd hear, when you're living in the dorms, you'd hear people talking about, oh, my boyfriend won't get off that stupid game. And you'd ask them, well, what game is it? What's Halo? And it's like, well, I've heard about that game, but I didn't know anything about it. Because, like you, I did primarily PC gaming. I have had a PlayStation 1 since it was launched.
Yeah.
But that was my only console until I got my first Xbox in 2007, 2008. Other than that, I was all PC gaming.
Yeah.
So were you guys on board then when the Xbox launched? I know, Liz, you said you didn't just until it got consoles recently, but I know for me, Chris, I think we talked about this some time ago on an older show, but like right around when Xbox launched, we were at a GameStop demo kiosk or just some game kiosk there, and they had Halo there, but the TV tint was all off. And
Yeah, it
Guys
looked
were
like
this will never work.
it looked like crap.
And
Absolute crap.
yeah, and I think
You know what the funny thing is? I ended up working at that GameStop, that same one that had the crappy TV and everything, and I won that kiosk many, many years later.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I remember
I'm like,
hauling that
okay,
home
the
with
TV
you.
is the first thing to go.
Dale, I need your truck. Oh,
I still have that too.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't.
That's cool. Yeah, I was playing at the time because I didn't jump on the bandwagon when it came out. I was, like I said, a PlayStation guy as well on the console side of things, and I was playing. I remember there was Midnight Club, and then Time Splitters was on the PS2. At the time, it was an exclusive.
Yeah.
And the PlayStation, I mean, the Dreamcast was out for a little bit, and then the PlayStation came out, and I was like, wow, they have a pretty good track record with the PlayStation 1. They had a great library, and the PlayStation 2 at the time just had this great library. They had a bunch of franchises jumped on it. And when the Xbox came out, my friend got it, and he just didn't have any, there wasn't a big game library. And since I was playing PC games too, I said first-person shooters don't translate to the console. Like this Halo game, I mean, I still don't think it was visually as stunning as some of the other first-person shooter games that have come out up to that point. And that's usually what hooks me. And I enjoyed Time Splitters because of the frame rate, bots, and the 4-player action was a great upgrade from GoldenEye.
Yeah, the multiplayer was awesome.
Yeah, I mean
And the
that.
ability, it was like one of the first, maybe the first console game to allow you to build your own maps.
Yeah, that was the other thing, and
That was awesome.
It was unbelievable. That game still to this day, like I've popped it in, and obviously it's been aged, but it just runs smoothly. It translates well. It was such a good first-person shooter, and that's my core group of friends. We played the snot out of it, and then I can get into when the Xbox was introduced and what happened to our gaming habits. But I know with the original Halo, there wasn't anything that was really grabbing me, but I didn't notice. I thought a lot of games, visually, I thought were pretty decent on the original Xbox, and I liked the way the thing looked, even though it was huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can, fairly disagree with you about Halo here. For some reason, I remember that grabbed Chris and me here for when.
Well, yeah, it just looked terrible, and I'm like, Xbox, if this is all it's capable of, no. But then I remember we actually bought the Xbox on the same day. We went over to Target. And I picked up.
We got it when it dropped to $200, just like.
Wow.
Was it a half a year after it came out? It dropped to $200 because the PS2 was just killing at the time.
Yeah.
They needed
Saved a lot of money.
And then I picked up Rally Sport Challenge 2
Oh yeah.
and Dead or Alive 3, I think, were my original two games. And you picked up Raw?
I picked up WWF Raw because I'm a huge wrestling fan.
Of course.
And I was immediately disappointed.
And then you rented Halo.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, let's give this game another try. And then we
Well,
put it in my place, and it was actually good.
was it now with Halo? I shouldn't say it completely turned me off, but what grabbed me with it was I mean, the multiplayer was fun because I felt that it was very solid with the different weapons and the maps and the way they had it set up. I think it was the gameplay for me that sold me on Halo, and it was definitely the multiplayer, not the single player. But we found the GameSpy tunneling service, and
we did that.
We did that.
That's where the game just took off because we had 3 or 4 boxes at one house, and we would either play each other there or we would get on one box with 4 of us and go against people online, and we would just play. I mean, it was constantly.
Did you run into a lot of lag like we did? It was hard to find a smooth map.
Yeah.
When you did, it was worth it.
Yeah, and it was worth all the trouble just to have those smooth maps or matches because it was. But yeah, you're right. The lag was pretty bad. But that to me was the single biggest attraction of the Xbox was this built-in Ethernet. Because at the time, I mean, broadband was just starting to catch steam in my area. You know, I can't speak for everywhere, but I know the friends that I had that did have broadband at the time, you know, showed me how this thing worked, and I said, "Oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever!" You know, it's so convenient. It's on your TV, you know, and it's you know, because online gaming was just starting to really grab hold, and online gaming is what I mean ultimately made me jump back to the consoles because originally what turned me off was online gaming was introduced on the PC side. The consoles weren't really adapting to it well. And then this Xbox comes out with this Xbox Live component, and you know you use this one connection for all these separate games, and it just
it was just streamlined.
Yeah, exactly. And it was that streamlined look and feel that really attracted me to it because the PC world is at the time it was you've got a ton of servers you can choose from, all these different modifications. Finding your friends, you'd have to send them an IP or you'd have to be in a network on a website, and it's very personable and it's fun. But the disadvantage was the disorganization. And with Xbox Live, it just threw it all together in this nice little package.
Yeah,
and
Microsoft introduced a bunch of standards, and if you wanted to put your game out on our Xbox, you have to conform to these standards. That was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, it may sound like, you know, some game developers may be sacrificing some of their features just to get their games on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think it was for the greater good.
Yeah, they gained so much by
Because
doing
I'm with you, Justin. I mean, I really like the online gaming, the brief online gaming experience on the Dreamcast just for like several months. It was, it was shining before it got crushed by PS2. But I remember lots of great online matches in 2K basketball and football and a few other games. And when that was one of the things that appealed to me about Xbox was the way they're promising a streamlined service, so that like you said, avoid all those hoops just to get one game online when the one login would work on all games. And
one login to
before we really get into more about the Xbox Live, I kind of wanted to ask you guys about what other features about the Xbox itself really kind of stood out or appealed to you, that kind of made you kind of inspired you to get one.
I could talk about. Well, I guess my reason why I got one actually ties in with my fondest memory of the Xbox too.
What's that?
Well, I had a couple.
Halo.
Well, kind of. I had a couple friends that were like, "Oh, why don't you come on over to our place for a while? We're gonna have a party and and whatnot." And I was kind of depressed. I was going through a rough time in my life, and we went over and they had Halo in, and I'm like, I've heard of Halo, but I've never gotten a chance to play it. And I go, well, can I try it? It's me and like 7 or 8 guys, and they're like, sure, we'll let you try it, honey. You're gonna get bored real fast. And we played. It was Halo 2, and we played, I think, 3 or 4 online matches. And mind you, this is the first time I've ever played a console first-person shooter game. Ever. Up until that point, it was Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 1, and that was about it. So anyway, at the end of the match, they just looked at me, and they're like, how is it that you've never played before, and you died less than any of us? And I'm like, I don't know, I got lucky. And they're like, you got more kills than any of us put together. Come on. And I'm like, I like to kill things. So actually the next day with me, I went and bought my first Xbox for $50 used.
Wow.
Nice.
That tells you about when I got into console gaming.
Well, they dropped the Xbox. I mean, when the 360 came out, the original Xbox, it's gone. I mean, you didn't see it on shelves. It was,
No, you couldn't because everybody was buying it.
Well, I got my Xbox about 6 months before the 360 came out.
No, Microsoft pretty much stopped supporting the original Xbox.
Yeah, but you couldn't even find used versions of it
Okay.
at all. Well, not at the GameStops around here. Well, you go to the GameStop right now and there's no Xboxes anymore.
But there were for about a year and a half, 2 years after the 360 came out.
But like Microsoft stopped making games altogether. I mean, there was a decent amount of third-party support for the original Xbox, maybe for like another year or so. But yeah, Microsoft was like, nope, we're done with games. We're focusing all on 360, which I thought was a little bit of a bummer because usually even Nintendo and Sony would support their other consoles while in transition to a new platform.
Well,
Usually for at least a year.
Well, PS2 is a great example. I mean, that's going on. It's been out for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sony's still releasing games on
2001
PS2.
it came out, isn't it?
2000. Yeah.
2000? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, a year after the Dreamcast. 9999.
But yeah, like some of the features I thought were kind of tempting me on Xbox, which other people were telling me about, which kind of appealed to me a lot, were one, the 8 gig hard drive being included. I mean, you had systems like Sega CD and Saturn would have like a little bit of internal memory built inside, but the 360 8 gigs, and then also hearing that you could burn your own music on there and use it for custom soundtracks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That custom soundtracks was awesome. I mean, playing Tony Hawk or Counter-Strike with your own tunes blazing in the background.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. That was awesome.
I mean, gaming, especially those, with an online component, and I know from PC gaming, I mean, you always had Winamp playing in the background or something. And to hear that, I'm like, wow, these guys, they're really taking a step in the direction where, this is what gamers want to do. And like I said, I mean, I keep referring back to the PC gaming because it is so close. And with the internal storage like that, the other thing, and I don't know how much we want to talk about it, but I mean, the hardware itself was the equivalent of like a Pentium 3, and they were they were telling you this, and of course this opened the eyes of everyone who was interested in the modding community to say, well, wait a minute, let's turn this into a media server. So people would run their own dashboard on there, and you'd run a media server in your living room, which was a fairly new concept at the time, and you could stream things right through your network on it. And then obviously that opened the door for people, all the illegal activities that go with it, which is the emulators of other systems on that hardware. And eventually, obviously that would open the door to then piracy, which, of course none of us agree with. But you still have to mention it because...
piracy bad.
Yeah, Xbox was pretty bad. I mean, I talked to... I remember some old classmates in college would be like, oh, I ordered an Xbox off eBay that came with like 30 games installed on the 200 gig hard drive. I was like, what?
Got a what?
Yeah. Well, the cool thing, though, and is, I don't know if this is cool or not, but is that Microsoft was able to detect some of those modifications and then ban those systems off of Live, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, it's a little scary because now you've got, say, if you weren't into the illegal downloading and maybe you did set it up as a media server or whatever you want to do, and you want to dual use it for both of those purposes, they were able to basically put the cap down on you if you were, modifying the hardware that you purchased. And I mean, that's a whole other issue in itself, but it was one of the, well, I shouldn't say that. Dreamcast was open to its own piracy, but this is the one that I think most people were familiar with. Even common non-gamers knew about the capability of an original Xbox and its modding ability. Mm-hmm. So it was, but yeah, the internal drive was, I mean, it still blows my mind that the 360 went the way it did because the internal drive, I was like, wow, they're going in the right direction. This is great. No more stupid memory cards. Like, this is excellent.
No more worrying about it if you lose your memory card.
Yeah, how many times does that happen? I hated that all the time.
Yeah.
I had a game that I got my character up to like level 50, and I lost the memory card. I've never tracked the memory card down again. I've never started the game over. It's just kind of one of those things. It's kind of a killer.
Well, yeah, definitely.
I'm with you. I don't know why Microsoft decided this. I guess make the price points appeal to more people, but let's have two SKUs, one without a hard drive, one with. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm sure it sounded like most of the core gamers I talked to, one with the hard drive option, you're still splitting the user base, and but Xbox One hard drive with it, and I never came close to filling up the space on that on my old Xbox. I even burned a ton of soundtracks on there too. Never came close.
No, me neither.
Yeah, and even got some DLC and stuff too. And that was kind of like where we saw like the original first generation of DLC when you think about it.
Yeah, it was.
Some games, like I remember, was it the Ninja Gaiden had the Hurricane packs. Knights of the Old Republic had like a planet you can go to buy stuff, and maps, of course, for Halo 2 and other FPSs. So, and fortunately, a lot of those were free, but not at that.
This is back in the day where stuff was still free.
Not this generation.
Nowadays, free is $5.
Yeah.
Let's get on to Xbox Live here. Now we all kind of sound hyped for it, I know, but did you think it was going to take off? I know a lot of people were very sounded like on edge with the $50 a year price point.
Well, I like the $50 a year price point. I remember Dale and I were both in the beta of it, and it was $50 a year. And then Microsoft said, "Okay, we're going to be changing the price," but nobody knew what it was, and we're like, "Oh my God, I hope they don't change it to like $10 a month or something." Mm-hmm. No, they kept with the $50 a year, so I was just fine with that.
Well, now it's $50 for 13 months.
Yeah.
Go buy it at a store.
I mean, the way I look at it, it's like, I mean, when you average it out, $50 a year, it's only like a little over $4 a month, and compare that to one MMO where it's what up to $15-16 a month, and it's a way better savings, and you're getting guaranteed online play through Microsoft servers for except counting EA games because they're EA, but like old Xbox Live, all those old minus the EA games, all the other Xbox Online games had supported online play for up to just a couple months ago for like 8 years.
Mm.
See, I was when I first heard that, I thought it was insane because I said there's so many games I play on the PC that are free, and the reality of it is now we know, looking back on it, and at the time, I mean, yeah, when you do the math, it basically what you do is, I mean, all of us are obviously gaming enthusiasts, so when you break it down to a few bucks a month, you basically just tack that onto your monthly game purchase is or whatever it is, and it works itself out because you're getting your use out of it. Because now we see the advantages of Xbox Live is you've got this friends list feature, you've got this inner game chat. It's very easy to organize and play socially with other people, and it's worth the price to pay because you have the stability. You've got it's all that cross-platform, and it's great. And if you look at the alternative, obviously, they've had their shortcomings with the online kind of running the PC route because the PlayStation, as far as their network has come, and it's excellent, it still has a number of shortcomings compared to what Xbox Live has to offer. And whether or not that has to do with the subscription model, we're not really sure. But as a consumer, you can look at it and say, I know I have both consoles. I know what headaches I've run into on both as far as their online is concerned. And the one that I'm paying for, I feel delivers overall. I mean, I think it does, personally. I mean, on a whole, obviously it's being well received, so there has to be other people that think the same way. I don't know.
Well, and with me, my thing is I got into the online gaming on the Xbox first.
Now, were you guys, did you guys remember playing a lot of, like, Xbox Live, like, the first year or two?
No. Actually, no, not that I can think of. I mean, I was using, at the time, I guess this is kind of horrible, but I never, it was always my roommate who owned the Xbox or my friends who had it. So I don't know if it was because I didn't personally own it and feel that connection, but when I sat down and played his Xbox or we played it, I didn't find us on live.
Oh, okay.
Which was weird. This was at least in the beginning. I know that. You guys opposite?
Yeah, we get, like Chris said, we're both beta testers, and
yeah, well, mostly the games I played on live at the time were, the only games that were out were like Revolt and
the beta test, like some of the sports games,
MotoGP, and Madden, but I never played that.
I didn't know how to hook it up to the internet.
Yeah, it was NFL 2003, NFL Fever 2003.
Some people still claim that with the 360, believe it or not.
What, that they don't know how to hook it up to the internet?
Yeah, I have like friends who have the old dashboard and they're like, "Well, I don't know how to get online." I'm like, "You just plug it in."
That's so easy with this one.
Yeah,
Plug
that the
in
new
your
one.
phone line, and there's a dialer in there somewhere.
Yeah.
See, with the original one, it was just kind of, when I bought it, they told me, oh, you can't hook it directly up to the internet. And I was like, oh, you can't? Then I'm not even going to try because I will break it. So, and I mean, I only had that thing for maybe a year before I got my 360, so.
I know.
Oh, go ahead.
I never really played anything online. I played, I think, Halo 2 and Halo 1, of course, but that's not using the official service. DOA Ultimate, I played a little bit online.
Dead or Alive?
Yeah, Dead or Alive Ultimate. I played, remember back in the days of
Mech Assault?
Game 2 Extreme, Mech Assault, or Weekend Mech Assaults. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted to kind of relate that to like how like the first year, maybe 2 years of Xbox Live, it was actually a pretty cool service. It was before a lot of the youngins started showing up. No, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm talking about like like the early teens.
Like the 14-year-old. I'm gonna teabag your body.
Kind of like last night I was playing Street Fighter and I beat the snot out of someone and then I get these harassing messages afterwards.
You're just like, really? Do you
Yeah.
want a rematch?
I was like, come on. And I did, and he didn't accept it. But
Yeah, or if I'm happen to get just a decent streak of kills going, like a couple months ago in Gears of War 2, I'm not really that great at that game anyways, but I got 3 lucky straight chainsaw kills. I was outnumbered, and I was like, you know what? I'll do kamikaze chainsaw, see if I can at least get 1 lucky kill. Somehow got 3 lucky kills off in a row.
Nice.
Won the round for our team, and I got one message from the other team members saying, "You're fucking gay." It's like, oh,
God.
that's Xbox Live for you.
Thanks.
Yes.
I was going to say, bringing it back to the whole, dealing with that type of community, I think it just has to do with the price point of whatever the system is, because obviously if it's a higher price point, you're going to be less apt to having kids playing it generally, which is horrible because there's a lot of kids gamers, and I know even listeners of our show who are, good gamers, respectable when they get online and play, but it's unfortunate that the majority of them, ruin it for everybody else. But I think it has to do with the price point because even the PlayStation 3, I mean, look at when I started playing on the PSN originally, you didn't see that. The price point was astronomical. The 360 price point was significantly lower. So you had a lot more kids getting their hands on the console. And that's why the Xbox Live community, the running joke is obviously, Xbox Live Online, you're going to get a little different experience than PSN. Now it's kind of leveled out a little bit, though.
Yeah, because PlayStation is
I think
significantly cheaper now than it was when it came out.
I think the big turning point for when the Xbox Live
Fall of Man.
community,
Fall of Liberty. Never mind.
the Xbox Live community really started
Okay, game.
to go in that direction is Halo 2 launch.
Oh,
God,
yeah.
And I want to ask you guys, where were you when Halo 2 launched? Because that was when the original Xbox really started coming down in price.
I was at GameStop.
And it was like a big event, actually. It's one of the biggest game launch events ever because there's this big marketing campaign. I remember hearing about. I wasn't in the midnight launch line. I ended up picking up like a couple of days later, but I know you probably heard them. I don't. Were you guys part of big midnight launch events, or remember the big ruckus around that time?
I was at the midnight launch at GameStop in the mall. But
You were working, weren't you?
No, I wasn't working at that GameStop back then. And no, I cannot remember a thing about that.
Other than just being, give me my game so I can go home and play it.
Yeah,
I do remember driving by actually like a few hours before it opened, and there was already like a line of like it seemed like around 100 people. It was crazy. But
See, mine was, I didn't jump on the bandwagon, but I was working at the computer lab at the time at school, and my coworker's sitting next to me, and he's pulling up his stats, and I remember looking over his shoulder saying, wait a minute, so you're telling me they track your stats and, they do this with the game? Like, this is on here, And I'm thinking Counter-Strike on the PC, you had to be running all these special mods in your server to capture all that information. and he's just pulling it all up on there. And I remember going, "Wow, this is something. This is definitely the direction that they need to take this game. You know, the online first-person shooter stuff. This is very cool."
Yeah, Bungie.net is amazing. The way
Absolutely
they did a really, really good job in programming that place to integrate the game and everything. That was awesome. Even every single match, it had not just your stats, but everybody's stats who was in that match. Everything. It was, and then the Halo 3 they had where you could actually take pictures or take movies and actually upload it. Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh yeah.
I know for me when Halo 2 came out, I was in my bed, sleeping through the madness. So I didn't know about it.
No, I was at GameStop.
All right, now we did get one comment on the open question thread. I kind of threw out there a few days ago, just saying, hey, this show we're going to be talking about Xbox. So if you got any Xbox favorites or memories, stories you want to tell, post them or send us an email. And we got one from Jeremy Peoples. He used to be an old guy. He used to write with on some old websites. But
Psycho Penguin.
No, that's a different guy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but he occasionally posts on VG Evo, and well, you guys like to read his post I got for you right there.
I can't read here, Liz.
Butthead.
Yep.
Getting the system with 3 free games because it was a week where Best Buy threw in either a Blinks or Rally Sport Challenge alongside with the JSRF Sega GT 2002 bundle. I played that for at least a few days constantly thanks to JSRF. Then got Shenmue 2, playing Carve, basically a budget version of Wave Race 64, on Xbox Live via a trial, then going out that day and buying the Xbox Live Crimson Skies bundle and playing that with some TNL forum goers. Never got around to playing that game offline, actually. Crazy Taxi 3's gotten a lot of playtime for me, not for the all-new level, which stinks because of its sloppy design and ungodly slowdown.
Yeah,
but for the crazy, jumpable, Crazy Taxi 1 arcade stage, that feature really breathes new life into it and makes it pretty much endlessly replayable for me. Rally Sport Challenge 2 is easily my favorite rally game ever, even with the dirts on the market. The controls were perfect, it looked great, and the dust accumulation on the cars was incredible. Rally Sport 1 was fine, but completely eclipsed by its sequel in every way. Then there are the PGRs, pretty much the same deal, though I liked PGR a lot more than Rally Sport 1. PGR 2 was an improvement in every conceivable way, and was one of my most played games on Xbox Live. It's also the best entry in the series. The best thing I remember getting hyped about on the Xbox was the Xbox Live Arcade disc, which came with Ms. Pac-Man free and had demos available for a bunch of stuff. I remember writing at the time that it was perfectly fine, but wasn't anywhere near reaching its full potential in that form. Boy, was that an understatement. You want me to read his top 5 games?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay. JSRF, Shenmue 2, Rally Sport Challenge 2, PGR 2, and Crazy Taxi 3. And I have no idea what the acronyms stand for.
Uh-oh.
Jet Set Radio
Which
Future.
one?
Jet Set Radio Future and Project Gotham Racing,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
which I have both of.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid top 5. I mean, a lot of good Dreamcast.
I have all of his top 5.
successors there.
Nice.
And when you think about it, the Xbox was kind of like, I always kind of consider the GameCube the home of like a lot of ports of a lot of Dreamcast games, and the original Xbox was kind of like the home of like a lot of the successors to a lot of Dreamcast games.
The Xbox felt like the Dreamcast too. The sequel to the Dreamcast.
I mean, Sega just dished a lot of them out there.
Jet Set Radio,
Yeah.
Shenmue, the original.
Panzer Dragoon Orta.
Yeah, Crazy Taxi 1 and 2 were on the Dreamcast. Grandia-
Great franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, that was PS2.
I know. I talked to some people that really love Jet Set Radio Future. I know my buddy Matt considers Jet Set Radio Future his favorite game of all time.
Yeah, Jet Set
Wow,
Radio
no-
Future is awesome.
He loves that game. Gosh, but yeah. So yeah, thanks for the post there, Jeremy. Man, that's pretty.
And thanks for the wall of text, man.
Yeah.
We know you're always good for it.
But I kind of want to throw it to you guys here. I figure we kind of go back and forth, just name some of our favorite old Xbox games. Doesn't matter if it's multi-platform or not, but just kind of go around just naming games off one by one that we remember enjoying on the Xbox. So, Justin, why don't we start with you, man?
All right. Well, let me. I made a small list here.
Uh-oh.
It's not too huge, but I
It's
mean,
only 10 games.
there's I mean, there's a few games that I have to really, you have to really recognize as something that was really important at the time and pushed forward on either the console or just gaming in general. And I know we talked at nauseum at at Halo 2, but I mean that has to be my number one most influential title that was on that console. But also another game that I felt was kind of overhyped and underdelivered, but still was a good game, was the original Fable.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I mean,
awesome. Great
I'm gonna
game.
play that one this summer.
yeah, it's a really enjoyable game, and I actually then I played it on the PC afterwards because I wanted to obviously, beef up the graphics a little bit, but it still looks really well and plays well, it has great sound, and it's an enjoyable game, and it's a great example of definitely a console RPG. Because by no means, when you play it on the PC, it's really not characteristic of a PC game, at least at the time, for an RPG. So that's very enjoyable. The other game that I played, and this one might just be a personal favorite of mine, I don't know if it was really groundbreaking, but the Mech Assault titles that came out.
Mech Assault was good.
Yeah, and I mean, those were, I liked the mech games prior, but the other one that also was pretty intense was Steel Battalion, which was
Did you
the...
actually
40 button controller.
get the $200
Oh,
controller and
God.
everything?
No, actually, my cousin had it, and all I remember doing is sitting down with that huge, massive dashboard of controllers, and I just could not figure the thing out to save my life. So that
Character
was...
Yeah.
I mean, that to me was, hey, I'm a PC game. Like, that was just that's pretty much what that was. But it was something to take note because I had a huge peripheral. And also, a few of the notables I had were, I know we mentioned the Project Gotham Racing because it took your realism, very good visuals, but, packaged it up nicely in an arcade-type setup. And it's an enjoyable racing game that was something that now is a pretty well-known franchise. And with that, racing titles, we also have to mention the original Forza that dropped on the original Xbox, but it was kind of in the shadow of the Gran Turismo, but was still very well respected. And I think it did a lot of things right. The first time I played the original Forza was not only a few weeks ago, which ironically enough, I was having some aftermarket special work done on my car, and here I am playing Forza, which was kind of interesting. And the game itself, I thought, did a lot of things well. It might not have had the quantity of cars, but it had the tuning and that little customizability, a little bit of an arcade feel to it. And it was that's definitely a game that was, got its roots started on the original Xbox. And another title, and you guys can correct me on this, but the Max Payne series, I know originally was a PC franchise that came out, and then they ported it over to the Xbox and the PlayStation. And for some reason, I remember it, and I could be incorrect, but I remember it coming onto the Xbox and then the PlayStation, and then obviously it became on all platforms. But I remember that one playing on the original Xbox for some reason first, and I said, visually is really good, I like the gameplay, and it's a third person, which is pretty well suited to a controller over a mouse and keyboard, if you ask me. But
I played Max Payne 2 on the old Xbox, and I really like that one. They refined it a lot more on the sequel.
yeah, it was. I mean, that's a great franchise, and those were some of the few that popped into my head right away. I know there's a number of other sleepers that drop in there. I mean, I know someone mentioned Shenmue 2 was. I mean, that was a great franchise.
People were complaining how this doesn't look like an Xbox game. And
yeah, I mean, it was.
It doesn't have to. It's epic.
Well, I don't know if people want the background story because I don't know if people that don't know, just the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the big swan song on the Dreamcast.
Yes.
And literally not even a month, I think it was maybe at most a month before the game was supposed to come out, Sega announced, we just did this great partnership deal with Microsoft. We're going to release it on the original Xbox a year from now, but it's going to have English voice acting, better graphics, so it'll be worth the wait. And me, I was a big Shenmue fanboy. I loved the first Shenmue, and I was so psyched for the sequel that I was just
Crushed.
incredibly crushed, and wound up to me importing Shenmue 2 from the PAL territories, and being the first game I ever imported, playing it with English subtitles. So
Wow.
I beat it on the Dreamcast that way. I still ended up getting it on American Xbox anyways, just to support it in hope of the sequels coming out, but that never happened. So fuck you, Sega.
Yeah, no kidding. Ugh.
But
Yeah.
it was still a great game. I love it. I know I talk to other people. It's a love it or hate it kind of game. So
Yeah. And oh no, this is a multi-platform. I was gonna say there's
all
a
right,
game.
You got some multi-platform.
Well, this is a multi-platform. Kind of falls under the guilty pleasure category, but Dale, you might like this one because it has very wrestling feel to it. Is the Def Jam Fight for New York, the sequel to Vendetta, which for some weird reason, if you play both of them, they're very similar, but I don't know if it's a visual thing or control thing, but that second game, I like that game so much. Like this is no exaggeration. I played through it on the Xbox, I want to say at least twice through the single player, played the multiplayer at nauseum with our housemates. Then I bought it for my PlayStation 2, which I kept at my parents' house at the time, and I played through it again on the PlayStation 2 there. And I had one kid in our house that got so into the game, he was like skipping classes just to play through it as different wrestlers. Yeah, that game was. I am by no means like a big hip hop fan, and so I knew casually the people that they threw in the game. But for some reason, that game was so much fun to play. I don't know what it was. And then obviously having the Xbox, you got 4 controller ports right there. So it was really easy for us to get, 4 people going at it. And it was just, that game was ridiculously awesome. Like that one will forever be in my collection and I will still play that. And I was excited for the newest Def Jam icon, but for some reason...
that one wasn't so good.
Yeah, that one I heard it kind of...
It was like a weird... All that game seemed to be about was just throwing your opponent into things, environmental objects, and getting him to mash with the background music.
It wasn't... It's weird. It's so weird because
it was a different developer, too.
Yeah. Well, they did it out of Chicago, and then they shut down the studio afterwards, but I don't know what it is with that game. I can't figure it out because it's still the same core. I mean, it's got the same wrestling control feel where it's, grapple and strike and your dodge and everything, but for some reason it's just
different.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like I wish I could break it down to a level where it was easy to explain, but
I played the Def Jam games. I really liked Vendetta a lot because Vendetta and Fight for New York were both developed by Aki, and they made the stellar N64 wrestling games that I just grew up loving.
Oh, I didn't realize.
No Mercy?
Yeah, No Mercy, Revenge, WrestleMania 2000.
God, No Mercy was a huge favorite amongst our circle, yeah.
Yeah, they're just some of my all-time favorite games, and so I automatically liked Def Jam Vendetta and Fight for New York. But like you said, Justin, I thought the Xbox was a great party system, and my buddies, we had some great multiplayer bouts of. I remember for a while the Rocky and Rocky Legends boxing games.
Oh, I never played those.
I didn't get on the big Fight Night craze. I knew a lot of people were big into Fight Night, but I could never get into the whole right analog boxing thing. I was more of a button control guy, and Rocky Legends. I was, for some reason, me and my buddies had many countless nights playing that, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 for some reason.
Oh yes, please! Those are great games. Oh, yes. I love those.
Yes, Skater. The first 4 Tony Hawk games I was really into, and just create. I only broke a 1,000,000-point combo once, but I was so happy when I did. But my couple of friends I played it with, that was nothing to them. They'd regularly bust out like 2, 3, 4 1,000,000-point combos. It was just a huge multiplayer hit with my friends.
Those Tony Hawk games were phenomenal, and that was at that time period. I mean, the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2, and obviously the Dreamcast had it, but it dropped off. But they were on those systems and were just thriving. I mean, that was a great franchise, and now it's kind of
Yeah.
they had to innovate and change it. They couldn't keep making the same thing. But I feel, at least for myself, I wasn't as interested as I was. It was literally after 4. I think 4 was the last one I played the snot out of. And
I got into Project 8 a little bit, but after that, yeah.
Well,
They also had
let's
tons of them for PS1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say with Tony Hawk, with executing those combos, you use the D-pad. At least I did. I know you can use the sticks, but what about the original Xbox controller? Because that was a huge issue for me and my friends.
That was another turnoff why I didn't get it right away.
Yeah, that was
The Duke was
Yeah.
what it was nicknamed.
the Duke. Yeah,
We called it the landing platform.
The
The
controller
landing
S.
platform.
We didn't get it until the controller S came out.
Yeah.
Which was actually like 3 months or something after the system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a smaller controller, the one that resembled
Yeah.
360.
I don't know if you remember. Yeah.
The big
Was
one
it-
with the big Xbox logo in the center of it.
I liked that one.
The big one only worked well for Halo. That was about
Yes.
big one-
Yes.
The big one works really well for the NBA games because the
Really?
shoulder buttons just have the right amount of tension on them
Huh.
for when you're making free throws.
I do recall talking to a couple people that said like people that, well, I guess like you used to live with kind of like arthritis. Sure, yeah, that I could see that. And other people I talked to, I remember at least a couple people saying, people that had bigger hands, they're like, finally a controller for me. But no, yeah, that other than Halo, that old Xbox controller, in my opinion, was probably one of the worst launch controllers of like the past 15, 20 years.
Jaguar.
Ooh, the Dreamcast was kind of crappy build quality.
I like the Dreamcast for some reason.
Yeah, but what about
are you
the
forgetting
quality,
about the
though?
Jaguar
You know?
controller, the 30
I'm
button
kind
controller.
of talking about like mainstream system.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I said kind of like 15 years. The Jaguar came out before that.
Yeah.
93 or so.
I think we can all. I mean, do you guys agree? I mean, I
15,
think
20,
that the PlayStation got it right, and I think the Xbox was trying to build on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless you had huge hands.
The Xbox looked like it was kind of a modification of the Dreamcast controller in a way.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know, yeah, but for some reason I like the Dreamcast controller. I know I'm in the
I loved
minority
it.
on
It was
that one, but-
awesome.
yeah. I'm on the fence with that one.
The
I don't
front
know.
end of it, or the back end. That's
Mm-hmm.
and the Dreamcast was built off the Sega Saturn Knights controller.
Yep.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
almost the exact same thing,
Mhm.
Yep.
which that was an awesome controller.
So Chris, Liz, you guys got any favorite multiplayer games on Xbox, or just like what are some of your other favorite Xbox games? Oh, Dark Alliance,
Dark
1 and 2
Alliance.
there.
No, Dark Alliance, the first one.
Okay, so anyway, that's my number 4 because I thought they did a really good job of the whole.
Unfortunately, we tried to play it on 360. It doesn't play so well on 360.
It's not bad.
The backwards compatibility, and I played it on there too. It's a little sketchy. There's some major slowdown in parts.
Major
Ooh.
slowdown.
Not too bad.
I got it on the original PlayStation 2. Plays well on the if you have a PS3 that'll play it. So
Okay, I'll have to maybe try track that out down then.
How about you, man?
Okay, my number 3 would have to be Fable, actually, for the Xbox.
Yeah.
oh nice.
Fable,
Hello?
yes. I just, people can say whatever they want about Peter Molyneux, how he overhyped the game and everything, but I absolutely loved the first Fable. I love the second Fable too, but the first Fable I just have really fun memories. I have both versions, the original version plus the greatest hits, the version that it just adds more into it. 3 hours of gameplay more. Yep. Okay, my number 2, Jade Empire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jade Empire, I really wish they would make a sequel to this. Jade Empire was just a phenomenal game, and Jade Empire and Fable, to me, just kind of really controlled the combat system, and I love that. It was awesome.
I could see BioWare coming back to it because it took them a while, but they finally came back to Knights of the Old Republic. But I could see them coming back to Jade Empire. I liked it too.
Jade Empire, yeah, it was just pure awesome. My number 1 is actually a series, not just one game. It's the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance series.
Yeah, 1 and 2 there.
Yep. I remember my buddy Kyle and I, we were playing through 1, and we just beat it. And I'm like, Kyle, actually Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 just came out today. So we went out to Best Buy and bought it that day and started playing it. And we actually beat it that day, too. That was awesome.
That's just kind of sad.
Those were awesome dungeon crawl games back
They
then.
were awesome.
And I'm glad Snowblind's finally getting on board and making another one with that Lord of the Rings ones they got coming out, I think, within the next year here. So, about damn time.
Yep. There's just so many good Xbox One games that...
Any other quick consolations or
Burnout 2 was my
Or honorable
introduction to the
mentions, yeah.
service or to the
series?
Live.
to the series, and I loved that game. Crazy Taxi 3 for the same reasons Jeremy mentioned.
Up here.
Anyway, Crazy Taxi 3, the Las Vegas, yeah, it had a lot of slowdown and everything. It was still fun, but not as much fun as the first two. Destroy All Humans series was awesome. If you haven't played that, I recommend it. They make it for
Oh yeah.
the PS2 also. I don't know if they make it for the
I
GameCube.
remember we played the first two a lot because we had split screen and
Yep.
yeah, it's fun.
Of course, Mech Assault. I just have more fond memories than that game being good. I mean, it was good, but just the single player was kind of terrible. Multiplayer was good.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then, let's see, what other ones? That might be it.
All right, cool.
Well,
Okay.
Sudeki was good. It's a good RPG, made by Microsoft. It was just... I don't know.
Grand Theft Auto. I have to give a call out for Grand Theft Auto.
I think those are probably more
Okay,
recognized as a PS2 series since they kind of all of them had like a
Yeah.
long exclusivity window. Yes.
Oh, Unreal Championship 2. When Midway, got the license for it, they screwed it up, and that's the, my...
I never played the second one. I liked the
That's your
first one.
soapbox?
I thought the first one was good
The first
online.
one is awesome.
Epic made the first one.
Yeah. But Unreal Championship 2, it's when Midway turned a really, really good series into a really less good series. Not terrible. It's just, why did
Well, I
you
remember
screw
they
it up?
tried changing things with making a third person. And
Yeah, they
first
put
person.
Raiden in there, and they, oh my god.
Hey, can't fault. At least they tried something different.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
too
True.
much Mortal Kombat in there for me. I'm not a Mortal Kombat fan.
Justin, do you have a finalized top 3 or 5?
10 or 15.
Looking at my list, I mean, I'd have to say, well, I'll start going backwards. So I'll start with my number 1, because it's a little easier. But from my list that I have here, I'd have to say the number 1. I'm gonna have to stick with my guns and say Halo 2. That was definitely it. Number 2, I'm gonna have to say is I'm gonna go with Fable. I'm gonna say Fable. I'm gonna stick with that. Yeah, because that was really enjoyable. And then number 3, ooh, I have to go with one of my racing titles that I really enjoy. And yeah, I might. I really, really like Project Gotham, but I think Forza was more bang for your buck. I'm gonna have to go with Forza as my number 3, rounding it up.
Nice.
One more call out that I forgot.
Mm.
Crimson Skies.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
That was an awesome game.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
That was I think it was set in the 50s, 40s area. When World War II, but it was an alternate timeline, so there was no World War
We
II.
don't have it.
We will pour
I don't
one.
have it.
We will pour one out for Fossa Studios.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I don't see it over there.
I don't see it. Where the hell are my Crimson Skies going?
I'll throw a few quick.
Death Row.
Oh yeah, Death Row. Yeah,
Death
that's
Row.
gosh, so many good multiplayer modes. in
Oh
that
my
game.
God.
Did you ever play that one,
Hitman.
Justin?
Which one?
Death Row.
No.
It's the extreme sports frisbee golf game, but
No
you can
kidding.
beat up your opponent by you can either win the match by getting them or scoring the most, or by knocking out the whole other team. It was
Wow.
awesome. We just spent hours and hours in that game.
I remember it being one of the first games to throw out the F-bombs in it too. They completely went all out in that game, and
That was awesome. I
it's
love that.
if
game.
you see it in the used bin for pretty cheap, it's one I'd recommend. It was a good
Death Row.
multiplayer game. Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that an exclusive?
Yeah, it's an
Yep,
exclusive.
It's exclusive Xbox.
Wow, I feel bad. I haven't even heard of that.
It kind of got one of those under the radar releases around the holiday time.
Oh, one of those. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was easy to miss out on. Yeah, I'll have to throw that out as one of my honorable mentions. I got a few others too. Just a few other quick multiplayer favorites of mine was the 2K Sports ones, namely the 2K5 line, ESPN, NBA, and NFL 2K5. Those were just spectacular games, and Sega released them at a $20 budget price to compete with EA. And that year, 2K5 actually outsold Madden on Xbox. I remember that year, and that's
a huge deal.
Yeah, that will never ever happen again because it's probably part of the reason why EA got the NFL license and the ESPN license from. Took it right away and pretty much killed off all football competition within a few months. So, but
I wish they never did that. That is one of the biggest. I think. Well, not. I mean, as far as a consumer, from our perspective, it's a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, and that was like especially with the basketball and football games. That's when the gameplay was hitting their stride, and the basketball and football games were just so much fun. And even when old Xbox Live got disconnected right before it went offline, I tried getting on ESPN NFL 2K5, see if anyone was online trying to fight a match, thinking it would, since I always hear it being pretty revered today still, but couldn't find anyone. But yeah, that's still one of my favorites. And Crash and Burn was like a kind of like a guilty pleasure budget racing game. It's a demolition derby racer, and it's kind of like one of those genres I'm a sucker for. I'll play anything that's released in there. That and Flat Out, those games, those are pretty good. The first Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance kind of revitalized, put a bunch of new life into the Mortal Kombat name. First true 3D Mortal Kombat game.
True.
I know.
Me and love Armageddon.
Many good nights playing that game. Also, Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. For the longest time, it was the only way to play Street Fighter 3 online on a console. I actually got a few rounds of that in on just a couple days before they disconnected Xbox Live.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah. I let it sit there in the lobby thinking no one would be on. I'm like, no one's playing this. But after a few minutes, someone challenged me, and I played this one guy like 12 times, and I only won once as Dudley.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm horrible. But
Yep, you are.
You will survive.
then I'm surprised no one else really mentioned this, but Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't get into that one, but I know that that's a very well respected Star Wars title.
I think I have. Let's see. I have the first one. Yeah, the first one on the Xbox.
I've only ever played.
I thought I had the second one on the PC, but I guess not.
No, you just have the first one.
I got really into it, and
Slacker.
But around like 15, 20 hours in, I just kind of hit the wall on it and got stuck and never got around to getting back to it. But that was I'm not that much of a Star Wars guy to begin with, but that one just hooked me in. I just loved the storytelling, the narrative, and BioWare, they're just a master of that storytelling, man.
Yeah. Jade Emperor.
Okay, and just a couple more quick honorable mentions. We were talking about Shenmue 2 and Fable. Those came close. I guess if we're doing top 5, Shenmue 2 would be number 5. It would have ranked higher, but to me, that's more of a Dreamcast game, since that's what I played I beat it on. I played most of it on. Then Fable would be number 4. But number 3 would be Dreamfall, The Longest Journey. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one.
Yeah, I know the cover art, but I don't think I've played it.
It's a sequel to The Longest Journey on the PC, not the last major point-and-click adventure games. And this one, they kind of made it real-time, but still had point-and-click elements, a lot of puzzle elements, and that story just grabbed me for some reason. I guess I talked to other people who played the original Longest Journey, and they just say the sequel is just nothing compared to the original, or maybe they just didn't like how they evolved it. But to me, I just really like that game. I remember when we did our Game of the Year countdown specials in like 2006. That was my Game of the Year for 2006. So.
Mm-hmm.
But number 2 would be the original Halo. If I could kind of cheat and put the Halo 2 multiplayer, just because it did so much for online matchmaking that it took the rest of the competition at least a few years to catch up. And even the original Halo multiplayer, with like you said, Justin, the tunnel service and even split screen and system link LAN parties. So many good memories. Blood Gulch battles and
Blood Gulch.
Hang 'em High. Those are my two favorite
Hang 'em
maps.
high, pistols only was my
Yes.
favorite.
That was a pretty common one, actually.
Everyone bolting for the camouflage.
Yeah. Going on that catwalk, looking down below. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, number 2, and then just the campaign 2 in the original Halo was just spectacular for me. Minus that, was it the library level? I think was it called the library
The endless elevator.
or whatever? It's just one
I
level
hated that level.
it seemed like you got lost in, and
Is that the level where you meet?
I think it's like one of the first levels you encounter the
Monitor?
flood. I think, and but yeah,
Okay.
and the flood was one of the best twists in gaming. I think to this day. I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Well, one of my fondest memories of Halo was, I was just I was sitting down with my buddy Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
He never played Halo at all.
What's this button do?
He never played Halo at all. And I skipped the first level, the Pillars of Autumn, because that's boring.
Tutorial.
Yeah, the tutorial level. So we arrive on Halo. We just get out of the escape pod. He's right behind me, and he asks, "What's this button do?" And bam, pistol whip right in the back of the head, kills me. First button he ever pressed in the game, kills me.
Of course.
Yeah.
It is a running joke between the three of us now. What's this button do?
Because when you think first button to fire a gun, you think the B button.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, of everything, you had two triggers, which are the closest resemblance to shooting something, and you go for the button.
Well, either way, he would have killed him.
Yeah.
All right, and my number one is
Maybe that meant to jump.
my number one is a multi-platform game. It was also on PS2 and PC, but Indigo Prophecy. Kind of tying in a little bit with like the recent release of Heavy Rain. This was developed by the same guys that did Heavy Rain, Quantic Dream, and at that time, I just that story just grabbed me. It was a fantastic game. I don't know if you want to call it a game. The developers labeled it an interactive movie, but it was another one. I think my 2005 Game of the Year pick when we did our 2005 countdown, and yeah, that was just fantastic. If you dug Heavy Rain, especially, I recommend track it down on. It's real cheap on Steam now, or you could just if you any used game store, you could probably find it for under $10.
Except for GameStop.
Yeah.
You don't sell
GameStop
it.
doesn't carry Xbox anymore because they're mean.
MGC though.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our top games. So we hope you enjoyed that Xbox retrospective. If you got any other memories you want to get in, just we'll read them on the air. Just send us an email, mailbag@ontappodcast.com, or post them in our open question thread on vgevo.com. So
.com.
yeah. So I kind of want to roll into a contest to VG Evo user Biffsticks. He was very generous to donate us a $20 code for or a redeemable code for Xbox Live points card, and so all you got to do is, since we're kind of keeping on topic with Xbox, is if you remember several episodes back, we did our game completion for 2009 rundown. Me and Matt, we both ran down all the games we beat for this year, and those listeners with a keen ear or know where to look on VG Evo. There's certain topics. Just look for the list of games I've beaten. Or listen to that episode 115 for the games I've beaten that year. Only one of them was for original Xbox for 2009. Just name that game and mail it to mailbag@ontapppodcast.com.
Punisher.
No, isn't that? And
Halo 1.
and you'll be automatically entered to win a $20 code for Xbox Live Microsoft points. So that's all you got to do.
DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball.
Name the only original Xbox game I beat in 2009. So, and if we have a winner by the time we do our next episode in probably about 2 weeks, we will do the drawing. So that's all you got to do. So, Justin, I know we got you on a short time window here, but do you still got enough time to do a quick what we've been playing?
Cliff Notes.
I could do you could do Cliff
Okay.
Notes real quick. What we've been up to?
All right, cool. Yeah, what have you been playing lately, man?
Well, I was just playing Geometry Wars 2 this morning, so I've been into kind of jumping on the short and sweet games. So that Call of Duty 4, and then I was practicing some Street Fighter in anticipation of Super Street Fighter next week.
I saw they got a Super Street Fighter 4 demo at GameStop.
I'm gonna have to
playing it-
stop there.
I just stopped there yesterday, and I was playing it, and like, was that Super Street Fighter 4? I want to play.
Yes,
No,
please.
it's Super Street Fighter 4
Yeah.
Turbo Edition.
Like I just got my fight stick in the mail. I got a Hori PS3 fight stick, so
Nice.
and just after playing against you at MGC a few weeks ago, man, it convinced me to get a fight stick, and I'm on board now, and got Super Street Fighter 4 reserved, and I tested out my fight stick real quick on a couple of older games on Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Street Fighter 2 HD Remix, and even I'm surprised to see it worked with the PS2 backwards compatible games too. Like I threw it with Samurai Showdown and some other arcade classics I tested out with. Worked great, so I'm psyched to get obliterated by the awesome VG Evo community on those. So yes, I'm getting it on PS3, so bring it on.
I'm sick because I have gift cards at Best Buy, and I pre-ordered it on the PS3 at Amazon, and I'm going to use the gift cards at Best Buy to buy it on the 360.
Oh,
I played so much of that first one. I said I will do myself a disservice if I can't play with like both groups of friends on each system. So I know I'm going to pour so much time into that. Ugh.
Cool. All right, I'll just name the other ones I played real quick here. Retro Game Challenge on the DS. I was just playing that the other day. I finally unlocked Star Prince. It's like the 4th game you got unlock of all the 8-bit old school games. More Just Cause 2. The game's hella long. I believe I'm like 18 hours in and only 20% done. Holy crap. Sega and Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing. Playing a lot of that online. And just a lot of the circuits too. I'm a pretty decent car racer. I just got to playing the very first Ratchet and Clank. A coworker borrowed it to me, and he was just appalled that I never played a Ratchet and Clank game. So like the next day I saw him at work, he brought it in and borrowed it to me. He's like, "You gotta play this." I only got an hour in, but I'm liking it so far. What can I say?
for the PS2.
Yep, PS2. More thoughts on that probably on a future episode here when I get more time in it. And just got about an hour into Splinter Cell Conviction, and I want to say my thoughts on a future
That's where Kyle is,
future
yeah,
episode,
Conviction.
but only about an hour in, and all I'll say now is that it's a little more intuitive than the older Splinter Cell games, and I kind of like that. But
More run and gun.
not run and gun, but they kind
Oh.
of turned into more of a cover-based shooter. But if you get out of cover for just a little bit, you're kind of toasted. And I'm even playing on rookie difficulty, so
Dale friendly.
yeah, Dale friendly.
Not
But-
very deal friendly then.
Yeah, that's it for me. What have you two been playing? Cliff Notes version.
Otro.
I guess that's it, huh?
Is that it for you, Chris?
Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno.
I popped that in a little bit. I have to get back into that game. That's fun.
Cool.
I've been playing Lotro and Borderlands.
Yeah, Borderlands. you
and
played a
Left
little
Brain,
bit.
Right Brain for the DS. According to that, I am ambidextrous.
You are smart.
Is that curable?
No.
Cool. All right. Well, before we
Hey, a
wrap,
bird flew into our window the other day.
hey, there you go.
You killed it.
No, the window killed it.
You killed it.
No, I didn't.
Well, before we wrap up here, Justin, I know you're short on time, but just quick. Sorry if we held you up here, but
Birds
we,
were
we definitely
cold.
want to get you a chance to shill your show, man. Why don't you tell people about it?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm part of 360 Nation, and we're on the VGEVO podcast network. So you can find us where On Tap is, and we primarily focus on the 360. And our website, well, the website's down right now, but it'll direct you to our feed, which is 360nationpodcast.com. And we're going through some changes with new host lineup, and our site is being renovated. We're also tweaking the format a little bit, so hopefully it'll be for the better and people will like it. So we do that, and we have weekly game time on Thursday nights. So yeah, come check us out if you're into the Xbox flavor of things.
All right. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming on, dude. This was awesome.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, thank you guys for letting me. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Next episode,
Anytime.
we're gonna have a PS3 retrospective,
Well, there we go.
There you
3
go.
years into the life cycle. Bam.
Yeah.
and it's done.
And it's
Boom. Yeah.
done. All right. Yeah, man, definitely. You got to walk on Sass. Anytime you want to come on, dude, just let me know.
I will do.
All right, cool. And once again, if you guys want to get a hold of us, mailbag at ontappodcast.com or the forums at vgevo.com. So, thank you all for listening, and for everyone, we will talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.